What should I have for lunch? This is the Catholic lunch break here. I feel like I ought to be chewing on the microphone. Maybe I won't eat the microphone for lunch. I'll have something else later.
I think you can't have anything for lunch. You'll have to do all the talking today.
Okay, I'll do all the talking, and you guys can have lunch and just listen. This is the Catholic Lunch Break here on AM 1430. My name is Tim Mott. I'm the general manager here at KSHJ, and this is the 1 hour a week where we focus on nothing but Houston. We catch up on everything Catholic going on in Houston, and it's just a fun time. I'm enjoying this cool weather. I'm enjoying all the activity going on in the city. We got plenty of stuff to catch up over the weekend. David Magallanes, who you just heard, is running the board. David, thank you for helping me out with this show. You're doing a great job, especially for coming from the oil and gas industry and jumping in the radio. You're picking it up real quick.
Thank you for that compliment. It's taken me a few weeks, but I've got a really great teacher, so thank you, Tim, for all that. And you're right about the weather. I mean, it was fantastic weather this weekend, so everybody here in Houston, enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely. So before we go into, we got a ton of stuff to talk about on this program today. I don't want to waste any more time. We have some very, very important guests to bring to you, and a bunch of stuff to tell you about the station, what's happening here at KSHJ. So before we get to all that, I want to start off with prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Our guest co-host today, a new guest co-host. Reagan is having a birthday today, so she took off, and we are having a special guest back, Larry Massey.
All right, it's great
Some
to
of
be
you may
here.
be aware of Larry Massey. Thank you. Hey, it's good to see you, man. It's been a
Well,
while.
I mean, I've gone 2 weeks, and you've already put me out to pasture. I mean,
oh, come on.
but what a beautiful day
Who left who
to be
here?
on Catholic radio, and I mean, to channel my Joe McClain, praise be to Jesus Christ.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. If you've listened to any of our share-a-thons, you will have heard Joe McClain and his praise be to Jesus Christ, which is a glory to behold. So what you been up to, Larry? Let's catch up with you, speaking of catching up.
Oh, my goodness. I can't even think of all the things that have happened. There's just a lot of great things happening in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. And so as most people know, I'm president of the Scanlon Foundation, and Friday was our deadline, and we got 97 applications in for funding. And so
Scanlon Foundation does such good work around Houston.
And so we're just really blessed and excited and to try to just do so much with the Catholic Church here and to help all the different ministries that are really doing great work. And it's just a blessing to live in Houston, Texas. And I'm real excited about our first guests that you've got here today, and I've had the good fortune of getting to know them over the past 2 or 3 years, and would say that we're involved with their great, beautiful event.
That's coming up this Sunday. So let's go ahead and jump right into it because we have a lot to talk about today. We have in the studio right now Dr. Rick Lopez, let me get your title here, the Associate Director of Liturgical Music in the Office of Worship.
Yes, thank you.
At
Welcome.
the Archdiocese.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here this afternoon with you guys.
Thank you very much. And joining you is Gonzalo Ramos. What is your official title? I know you're the director of the Bravura Concert Series, but...
Right. So I also am music director, one of the music directors at All Saints Catholic Church as well.
All Saints Catholic Church. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have Joel Matthews, our CPA/intern, dialing up. Maggie Gallagher, who is the executive director of the Benedict XVI Institute in San Francisco. But the reason all of you are joining us on the program today is because coming up this Sunday, is a historic moment, especially for the Archdiocesan Choir in Houston. Dr. Rick, what is happening this coming Sunday?
Well, this Sunday is our 11th annual In Memoria concert for the Archdiocesan Choir of the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. And this Sunday's concert will be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time at the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. And it's the 11th year that we have offered this program in the fall, in the month of November. And what I think makes this concert so special, among other things, though, is in my thoughts of even going back several months ago, even at the beginning of this year, I had always envisioned that this concert would be the precursor or the warm-up to the first tour for this archdiocesan choir as in a pilgrimage to Rome. So what I'm very happy to share with you is I started thinking about that the concert that we do in November would be a great way to introduce the repertoire that we're going to do in June in Rome for our local audience that we've established over the last 10, 11 years, and to share with them the music and the repertoire that we'll be taking on our pilgrimage to Rome at the end of June and the first couple of days of July next year. So that's what I'm really excited about.
So this is historic for the Archdiocesan Choir, because
Yes.
you guys get to go on that pilgrimage, and you're taking the music making of Houston to
Right.
Rome.
Right.
But the music itself is something extra special that our listeners are going to be able to enjoy this coming Sunday. What's the special piece that you guys are performing?
Well, that's the backstory. So, as I said, I started to try to think about even last spring about what we might do at this concert again as a precursor to the Rome trip. Then, as it turns out, one of the priorities I had that I wanted to accomplish, as I say, with the repertoire was to feature American composers first and foremost, and right alongside of that, of course, was to feature sacred music from American composers, which is generally not a real challenge, but I there's a number of things that I could have looked at and chosen from, but I wanted something that maybe the European audiences hadn't heard, because there are choirs do go to Rome very often, but I thought what would be new, what would be something that perhaps they haven't been overdone, that hasn't been overdone, something like that. And by the grace of God, I had a couple of things in our hip pocket already, and one of them was the beautiful Ave Verum that I knew we were going to take by my dear friend sitting to my right, composer Gonzalo Ramos. I knew that would be part of it. And then, as it turned out, about 4 years ago, we had commissioned an Ave Maria by another young local composer at the time. We consider him still one of our local properties. By now, Dr. Daniel Naggs.
Dr. Daniel Naggs.
Dr. Daniel Naggs. And we had that in our repertoire as well. And I knew that's, again, another, in that context, that would be another perfect piece to take along. But I didn't have the big piece yet. I didn't have the bulk of it quite yet. But then so I'm praying on it and just keeping my eyes and ears open and my heart open to what am I going to do about that? I had Gonzalo's piece, I had Daniel's piece, but they're smaller works, they're motets, beautiful pieces.
That's not going to fill up a whole concert.
It's not going to take up 50, 60, 70 minutes. So as it turns out, I was invited, Gonzalo and I were invited to a meeting last spring, and present was going to be, of course, Mr. Massey, Sarah Cortez from the local...
Sarah Cortez, well known to our audience.
Catholic Arts here.
She's a poet, and the Catholic Literary Arts, I believe, is
Exactly
her website.
right.
Yeah.
And then, and also a name that we didn't know, or that I didn't know, Maggie Gallagher from the Institute, the Benedict XVI Institute in San Francisco. And I don't think any of us knew Maggie at the time, but she was going to be the guest of honor for that dinner. And so we Mr. Massey invites you, and you go. So we were all at this dinner and having a great time, conversation, meeting Maggie Gallagher, and she's telling us about the Institute, which I knew very, very little about, to be very, very honest, for whatever reason.
Well, we have Maggie on the phone, so she can tell us more, but go ahead and finish.
Exactly
What
right.
happened with this meeting?
So what happens at this meeting is, among other things, as I said, Maggie was telling us about the Institute, and as she's going along, doing a beautiful job sharing us about the concept behind it and some of the goals and aspirations of the Institute and its function in the Archdiocese of San Francisco. But then she got to the music piece, and she shared with us that just a few months before our meeting, the composer attached to the Institute, Mr. Frank LaRocca, had completed a new Mass and had just debuted in San Francisco at the cathedral in San Francisco in the fall before our meeting last spring.
Mm-hmm.
And my eyes got real big. and I started asking questions
So
about it.
now you're thinking this can fill a
Well,
concert because a mass setting is a special thing.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so I was a little bit skeptical, but I said, you know what, Maggie, and she described it in such a beautiful and positive way, you know, nothing short of the Handel's Messiah, you know, as far as content. But I said, would you mind sharing a copy with me, or maybe you guys could send a copy so I could review it, and I'd love to put my eyes on it. The rest is history.
Absolutely. So Maggie Gallagher, Executive Director of the Benedict XVI Institute, thank you for joining us here on the Catholic Lunch Break in Houston.
Well, I'm so excited about this concert version, sacred music concert at the Co-Cathedral on Sunday, because part of the vision of what we're doing, and we are fresh off just an amazing experience with the world premiere of the Mass of the Americas in the extraordinary form at the Basilica National Shrine in Washington, D.C. But part of the vision is that, most of the really great works of sacred music that we now hear primarily in secular concert halls were commissioned from the bosom of the faith, and they moved through the great cathedrals then of Europe to find new audiences. And so our vision is that this Mass of the Americas, in addition to being an amazing spiritual and cultural event on its own, is the beginning of the recreation of the Renaissance and the Counter-Reformation model of great new works composed from the heart of the faith and finding audiences through the great cathedrals. And we are so grateful that Houston is actually our first example of someone finding the music, loving it, and making it happen. I'm going to be there, and and so is Frank LaRocca, to experience it. But just side note, one of the things I'm really happy about is that I didn't have to put this mass on.
Yes. As executive director, you end up doing a lot of stuff yourself, and we're happy to make this happen for you.
Well, it's the Texas premiere, and I guess the point is less about my workload than that we are beginning the process of creating a pipeline for great music that not just Frank LaRocca, but other composers, we hope, will have access to, and will lead to a revival of the great tradition of the church as a creator of great music for the praise and glory of God that will live for, we believe, for centuries. And it sounds grandiose, but the heart of the vision of the Benedict XVI Institute is that the greatest liturgy and the greatest art the church has ever produced is yet to come.
Absolutely. So there are so many different directions that I want to go with this conversation right now, but I want to dial it down just 1 minute. We've had such a build-up to the Mass of the Americas, but there's probably some listeners out there who might not even know what a Mass setting is. And for those of you out there, thank you very much for sticking with us in this interview. Gonzalo, I think this is a great opportunity to get your voice in here. Can you do a real quick 2-minute crash course in what is a Mass setting when we talk about the music that goes with the Mass? That's not just hymns.
Yeah, definitely. So in short, what consists in the Mass setting, we can begin with the Gloria. Is that right? If not before the Gloria, we can start with the Lord's Have Mercy.
Those are the parts of Mass that we say or sing every time there's a Mass.
Every
it
Sunday
never
Mass,
changes.
Just not regular, but just any ordinary Sunday Mass. So we begin with the Lord Have Mercy, the Kyrie. We go into the Gloria. Then we can move into the Credo. Isn't always sung. It can be sung, but it's not necessarily sung anymore.
But in a typical Mass setting, when someone's composing music for it, they usually include the Credo.
At times, correct. And then we can go into the Holy Holy, the Sanctus. We go into the acclamations, and after that, and I mean the acclamations that we know might be the when we eat this bread and drink this cup, we proclaim our death, O Lord, and so on. Then we have the grand Amen, which is Amen.
Yes.
And then we can go into the Lamb of God after that.
So all those parts that sometimes are sung, those are typically what we're referring to when we say a Mass setting. A composer has written new music for this. So Maggie, who is the composer? What is special about Frank LaRocca, and why did you guys commission this from the Benedict XVI Institute?
Well, Frank Frank LaRocca, first of all, if you'd like to experience his work, you can go to massoftheamericas.com, and we have a link to the extraordinary form version of the Mass of the Americas. His website is franklarocca.com to hear he's just an amazing composer. He's not as well known. I mean, he has won awards and is well regarded in the field. He's not as famous as he should be because I believe he's had 3 distinct classical music careers. He was trained in 12-tone Schoenberg, what he would now call ugly music, which was what people were trained in at that time, and it killed his soul. And he was good enough at it that his very first, his PhD composition at Berkeley was favorably reviewed by then the America's greatest music critic in the New Yorker. And then he just could not do it anymore, and he launched into his second career in what they then called holy minimalism, which is quite a distinctive style.
Holy minimalism. I don't know if I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not really related to sacred music.
Okay.
But in any case, when he came back to Christianity, he was raised Catholic. He left as an 18-year-old for rock and roll and the rest of it. And but when he came back to Christ, first in the evangelical church, and then a few years later, he and his wife both came into the Catholic Church. And he paused for a few years and then launched his third career just about 12 years ago as primarily, not exclusively, a composer of sacred music. And he's not just a good composer, he's really a great composer. And I think many, many more people are recognizing this through the exposure that he's getting. And part of his gift is that he understands that when you're setting a mass setting, your purpose is to serve the liturgy, not to call attention to yourself and your musical skills. And so it is a great gift to attend this concert, I'm sure, and the mass setting, because it is beautiful, yes, but it puts you in touch with God, and that is really the point.
So that brings me to the second place that I wanted to go with this. You've been talking about the extraordinary form of this mass setting that was just premiered on EWTN, I believe. They broadcasted it recently from the National Basilica. Now, what is the difference? Is this a mass setting? Can it be celebrated in the extraordinary form and the ordinary form, or just one or the other?
Oh yes. So it was the first celebration of the Mass was December 8th, 2018. That's the Feast of Our Immaculate Conception at the San Francisco Cathedral. And it was designed to be, it was the Archbishop Cordileone's conception that because the Feast of the Immaculate Conception fell on a Saturday, that's the day in his archdiocese and most archdioceses or dioceses in the United States, the celebration to Our Lady of Guadalupe takes place, because her feast day, the week, a few days later on December 12th, is not a holiday in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a big deal in San Francisco, and most Anglos are not aware of it at all, but it's a 12-mile pilgrimage through the streets of San Francisco to the Cathedral Plaza with horses and feathered dancers and people selling tamales. And then at the end, the Guadalupanans, many of them march up the aisle of the cathedral on their knees to the altar to Our Lady of Guadalupe. And that community just graciously agreed to do on this special day to Our Lady of Guadalupe, to incorporate this twin tribute to Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, the patroness of the United States, and Our Lady of Guadalupe, the patroness of Mexico and all the Americas. So the original Mass in the ordinary form, which is the version you're going to hear in Houston on Sunday, is written in 4 languages: Spanish, Latin, English, and Nahuatl, which is the Aztec language that Our Lady actually spoke to San Juan Diego. It was originally written for 16 voices. I understand you have a 60-voice archdiocesan choir, so that is going to be an amazing experience. and it includes organ, string quartet, guitar, bells, and marimba, which is a native an instrument native to the Americas. So the idea is that Mary is the mother of us all, and in every culture she works. She brings us together to her Son as part of the family of God, and that's what makes this, the Mass of the Americas, a really special occasion to be part of.
Wow. Okay, so the original world premiere was in the ordinary form, big, huge celebration in San Francisco. It was recently just premiered in the at the National Basilica in the extraordinary form, which is the older form of the Mass that is still valid to be celebrated. And this coming Sunday is going to be a concert version of the ordinary form. So it's not going to be a Mass, Dr. Rick. It's just going to be the concert this Sunday.
That's correct.
But it's at the Co-Cathedral
Yes.
with the Archdiocesan Choir.
Yes.
And it's going to include some other pieces as well, this concert. What else is going to be on the program?
Well, there's two other pieces, two other motets, sacred motets. One is the Ave Maria number 11 by now Dr. Daniel Naggs. Like I said, he was here locally until he took his college position post in Ohio recently. But in fact, Daniel was here.
He was the choir director at St. Martha's for a while.
He certainly was.
Yeah.
He certainly was. That's exactly right. As he was finishing his doctoral, and he was just honored here last weekend by the Houston Chamber Choir as one of 6 local composers being honored there at a program here at South Main Baptist.
So fun thing about Daniel Naggs, you said Ave Maria number 11.
Yes.
I know that he's working on a project where he's writing a new Ave Maria setting every year for 50 years to make an entire rosary of Ave Maria settings. So God bless you, Daniel. That's a big task, and you know you're going to be working on that till you're 70, so that's great.
So as it turns out, we commissioned that just almost 4 years ago. The Archdiocesan Choir, we commissioned that from him, and he said it, as it turns out. The prayer that he uses is in 2 languages. It is also a translation of the Nahuatl language that that Juan Diego spoke, and the prayer that was shared with him at the apparition. Juan Diego was, not to be critical, was illiterate. So the prayers that were shared with him, he shared with a text writer that the bishop had assigned there in what now is Mexico City. But the very prayer that she shared with him, he shared with this person that dictated it, and that very prayer Daniel set in this Ave Maria number 11, along with the traditional Hail Mary.
So that fits in really well with the Mass of the Americas.
That's God.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea. I had already, as I said earlier, I had planned to use Daniel's Ave Maria all along on our tour. And then here comes this Mass of the Americas, also dedicated to the Immaculate Conception and Our Lady Guadalupe. So it was a perfect fit and a perfect match.
Coincidences really just got at work.
Amen.
That's when we can see divine providence breaking through.
Exactly right. So that worked out really well.
So, Tim, I understand that we're going to be able to listen to this on Sunday on Catholic Radio if you're not there in person.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be broadcasting it live here on this radio station, AM 1430.
And then those that want to come in person, you're going to be giving away tickets.
Mm-hmm. We have a ticket giveaway, a courtesy of the Scanlon Foundation. Do you want to let people know how to take claim of those?
Well, I mean, we're just going to take the first 10 who email Tim, and Tim can give you his email.
Okay, so 10 tickets that we're going to be giving away, courtesy of the Scanlon Foundation, for you to come and experience this concert on Sunday at the Co-Cathedral. Well, there's one other piece that's going to be on there. That's Gonzalo. That's your Ave Verum corpus, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
What's it like to actually have to have your piece alongside these others and in this big concert that we've all built up at the Co-Cathedral, and to have hundreds of people come and listen to it and broadcast live on the radio?
So it's truly amazing. It's a great honor to be included into the program, and I'm very excited. The way that Dr. Rick, the reason he chose it, I'm paraphrasing from our conversation, is in regarding to the entire Mass setting and the Ave Maria, the Ave Verum Corpus. It's a Latin Eucharistic hymn. So we're placing it into the Mass setting where communion will take place. So it just really falls right into place with everything else that's happening.
And so it fits in really well with this concert. So thank you very much for that. So to claim those tickets that we're giving away, all you have to do, be one of the first 10 people to email me. Now here's my email address. Get ready to write it down. You just have to email me and tell me how many of these tickets, probably a pair of tickets you can claim. But if you need more, we'll see if we can work something out maybe. But my email address is tim@grnonline.com. tim@grnonline.com. And before you decide whether you can make it or not, we have to tell you what time it's going to be and where and how long, because those little details about concerts, we have to be able to come. Dr. Rick, what's the details on that?
The concert will begin at 3 p.m. this Sunday, the 24th of November. And it will be presented, of course, at the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. And the address, in case some people don't know, the address of the Co-Cathedral is 1111 St. Joseph Parkway.
St. Joseph Parkway.
And basically downtown Houston.
Now, what's the best place to park there? I know the cathedral parking lot's kind of small.
It is. The best place to park, there is a small lot directly across the street, but the best place to park on Sundays and most weekends is what they call the Amagi multi-level parking lot, which is catty corner from the cathedral itself. And if you pull up to the front of the cathedral, just look to your left, and you want to be on the other side of the street of the cathedral, and there's a multi-level free parking Amagi parking lot.
So the Amagi parking garage right next to the Co-Cathedral. So
Right,
if you can
across
make
the
it,
street.
if you can make it there this Sunday at 3 o'clock, I want you to claim those tickets by emailing me right now, tim@grnonline.com.
Can I mention the online purchase as well? For
Go
people who
ahead.
still wanna-
For
Yes,
people who don't get the free
That's
tickets.
exactly, or that are out of the area or something, but it maybe can't come. But we are selling tickets online at archgh.org/in memoria, altogether, INMEMORIA, archgh.org/in memoria. And you'll get to the website where all the information is there about the concert and how to purchase tickets online. We obviously will be selling tickets at the door as well.
I mean, I'm so excited about this, Tim, and this could not have been made possible without the generosity of probably one of the grandest Catholic women in Houston, and that's Ms. Ray White and Fayez Seraphim. And she did a lead gift that enabled all of this to happen.
That is absolutely amazing. So the whole community of Houston coming together. So these are the ways that you can enjoy and be uplifted by this glorious Mass setting, the Mass of the Americas. This Sunday at 3 p.m., you can go to archgh.org/in memoria and purchase your tickets there. You can try to claim those free tickets from me at tim@grnonline.com. And if you can't go at all, you can listen here on AM 1430. Download our app, or however you're listening right now, AM 1430 at 3 p.m. on Sunday. We are going to be broadcasting it live to all of Houston. So Larry and Rick and Gonzalo and Maggie, thank you very much for putting this all together.
Well, we're excited and
Thank
can't
you.
wait.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
See you Sunday.
see you Sunday. So
you,
we're going to
Maggie.
go take a break.
I had known about the station for a long time, but I have to confess, I had known about the station for a long time, but I have to.
Sorry, let's do it again.
Okay.
So let's do it again.
We're still, like I said, my assistant came from the oil and gas industry, so we're having fun. I take back what I said earlier. But, okay, we're going to go to a break real quick, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to be talking to the president of UST himself, Dr. Richard Ludwig. Hit it.
I had known about the station for a long time, but I have to confess, I never tuned into AM. Perhaps I was biased, but then that changed, actually. Once I started listening to 1430, I kept the dial where it was at, and it's the only AM station, actually, we listen to. I like Teresa Tomeo and Al Kress, and I just like their personalities. I also enjoy, hearing what's going on in the local church, with Evangelium Live, Call to Communion, and with Dr. Dave Anders, and More to Life with Pop Checks, who also, I'd gotten books written by them, and I had kind of started reading them, but I hadn't given a lot of time to it. And then I started listening to their show, and I thought, I've got to read their books now. I really, really love the show. I learned a lot. But also, I really like there's prayers interspersed. I get a lot more praying done in the day that I wouldn't otherwise. It's so uplifting. There's so much on the radio that you could be listening to. In fact, pretty much everything else that's on the radio that you could be listening to is anything but uplifting. We want to support the radio station for sure.
KSHJ 1430 AM, Catholic Radio. Radio for your soul.
This is Adrian Fonseca from Annunciation Catholic Church. The Guadalupe Radio Network is coming up on our annual Share-a-thon on December 3rd through the 6th. please pray for your Catholic radio station. Nothing is more important than your prayers, so please lift up 3 Hail Marys for us today and keep us in your prayers. May the Sacred Heart of Jesus have mercy on us, and the Immaculate Heart of Mary keep us. Pray for us this Share-a-thon on December 3rd through the 6th. God love you.
Hi, my name is Father Nicholas Reynolds, and I am a Dominican friar from Holy Rosary in Midtown, and we are hosting a Houston Vocations Day on Saturday, November 23rd, on what it means to be a Dominican friar. Come meet some friars and grow closer to our Lord in the Mass, the Liturgy of the Hours, and Adoration. We begin at 8 a.m. with morning prayer and end at 5 p.m. with Mass followed by dinner. For more information, go to the website DominicanVocations.com or contact the Vocations Director at vocations@opsouth.org. Is God calling you? Come and see on Saturday, November 23rd.
You're listening to the Catholic Lunch Break here on AM 1430. We're having a great time. It was wonderful to talk about the Mass of the Americas that we're going to be broadcasting this coming Sunday at 3 o'clock. And again, if you want those free tickets, email me, tim@grnonline.com. Joining me today, Larry Massey as guest co-host. We'll come back for another stint. I know you're going to be popping in occasionally, right?
It's just that Dr. Ludwig has got me busy these days, being on the board of University of St. Thomas. So I'm using my Mondays, probably 3 out of 4 Mondays this coming to help volunteer at UST.
Oh, wonderful. So you're all over the place, and this is good. I will gladly share you with the rest of Houston. And David Magianas, working the board and also co-hosting today with us. David, we've got a share-a-thon coming up that I want to be sure that we prep our listeners for, because this is very, very important to our continued existence as the Guadalupe Radio Network, because our major ways of funding is donors. That's what we do. We are a nonprofit. We are a ministry, not a business. And this radio network, 37 stations, is completely supported by donations from listeners. So 4 times a year, in the spring, the summer, the fall, and then the Christmas season, we come on the air and we ask for donations. And that's coming up December 3rd through 6th. Now, this is going to be what, your 3rd one with us here at the station?
2nd or 3rd, I've already lost count. And so the great thing about this is there's a lot of ways to help out, right?
There are a lot of ways to help out. So especially if you can't actually donate something, we could certainly use your help answering the phone calls. So on December 3rd, especially in the afternoon, we are going to need some volunteers. What's the best way for people to get hooked up with that?
So send me an email, david@grnonline.com. We'll also send out some email blasts as well. And so what we're looking for is people to come into the station. Gives you a great opportunity to come to the Catholic radio station. Help us out, answer phone calls from around the country, basically from New Mexico east towards Washington, D.C. Great way to connect with our Catholic community, be a part of our community, and answer phone calls. You'll hear some great stories of people donating, and I love hearing the stories, Tim. It just touches my heart that we have a lot of people that care about our station, our network.
Yeah, before I even worked here, one of my favorite things was actually coming and volunteering at the Share-a-thons, because, and I hadn't thought of this before I did it, but you're sitting there and you're taking phone call after phone call after phone call, and you realize all of these people are calling out of generosity. They're calling to give and not to get anything, and it's a positive experience. It's just, you feel really energized afterwards. I'm like, I just spent like 6 hours answering phone calls, and I feel great.
I know. And so it's a great feeling. So if you want to be a part of that, just send me an email, david@grnonline.com. And I think, Tim, we were also looking for an appreciation gift, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple ways that you can also help jumpstart the Share-a-thon. We give away a daily appreciation gift for some of our $1-a-day givers, and we need someone to donate that. That's an iPad Air that we're going to be giving away. So if you're interested in that, email David. We have the breakfast and dinner already covered for the volunteers, but we're looking for someone to cover the lunch. So if you'd like to, take care of the volunteers for lunch, you can also, we'll hook you up on how to do that. And I think that's just about everything. But prayers are the most important for us, because God is the one who provides. He's just asking us to cooperate with His will. and so that's why we do this every year.
Yeah, and segue into prayer. We just had our prayer breakfast as well.
Yes, we just finished a whole series of prayer breakfasts that were all over Houston and in different parts, and we had a bunch of great speakers. I got to network and meet so many people. Thank you for all of you who showed up to our prayer breakfast, and especially for those table donors who really sponsor the tables to make that a reality. So let's hit our sports report, and before we get into our interview with President Ludwig of UST.
All right, we can do that. So, hey, Dave, the sports guy here, rolling out your Catholic high school sports report for the Houston area. So let's go for the first down and go with boys high school football and the playoffs. In the bi-district round of the UIL playoffs, Straight Jesuit Crusaders defeated Clear Creek Wildcats to advance to the area round, where Straight Jesuit Crusaders will now play Beaumont Westbrook Bruins. The time and location has not yet been determined for that game. In the first round of the TAPS playoffs, St. Thomas Eagles defeated Addison Trinity Christian Trojans to advance to the regional round, where St. Thomas Eagles will now play Dallas Bishop Lynch Friars. Time location has not yet been determined for that game as well. And now for the University of St. Thomas Celts and its soccer teams. The men's soccer team went 10-6 in their first season, playing in Division III of the NCAA Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference. It was the team's first 10-win season since 2016, and with a 6-2 conference record, the Celts finished in third place. The women's soccer team went 5-8-1 in their first season as well in the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference, and the season included a 4-match winning streak over conference opponents. And that's a wrap of this week's sports report for the week of November 4th. Keep your radio tuned to AM 1430 for next week's recap of Houston's Catholic high school and college sports. And follow me on Twitter at Dave Sports Guy. And now back to you, Tim.
Wow. Is that the first time you've actually included the scores from the UST in that?
I did, and, we have a special guest, so I wanted to throw that in there. They're a part of our community as well.
Well, in that case, let me welcome Dr. Richard Ludwig to the program. Dr. Richard, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, UST has been a great sponsor of the radio station, and we love partnering with you on so many different things. We come and do our family fun party from your gym, and we've done other broadcasts from various events at the school. And thank you so much for being a staple of our Catholic community here in Houston.
Well, and you as well for providing the opportunity to come to our campus and share it with a wider audience. That's something we're always excited to do, and it's part of building this great Houston Catholic community.
It really is. Now, let's just get to know you a little bit for the audience who may not have met you before. I have a sheet in front of me that says a fun fact about you is that you grew up on a rural Indiana pig farm.
That is true. Yes, it is true. Yeah.
You've come a long way, so it's a very different place now. What was that like? How was your childhood?
Well, I had a great childhood. I had have a mom and a dad, a mother and a father who were loving, practicing Catholics, and we had about 1,500 head of hogs on our farm too.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
No, it was a great time out in the country, and I grew up at a small town with a parish at the center of it. So it was a great formation, and now I'm in a little different setting than that.
Yeah, Houston's a lot of things, but it's not a small town.
It's not a small town, and I haven't seen a lot of hogs running around either. So
we get the hunters to take care of those. There's a lot of feral ones out in the hill country out here.
That's right.
Yeah. So are you married? Do you have kids?
I am. Melinda and I celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary today.
Oh, congratulations. Woo! Melinda, I hope you're listening or getting ready for your anniversary celebrations.
That's right. So, and we have 2 children. We were blessed with Christiana and Richard III.
Richard III.
Yeah, and so Christiana is a busy professional in her own right, and she stays home and homeschools our 3 grandchildren. And she's a wife of Michael, who is a member of the United States Air Force. He's an officer there. And Richie is in marketing, and he works for an organization called Gartner. It's a worldwide technology consulting firm.
Awesome. Quality comes from quality. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you're the 9th president of UST?
That's correct.
Now, that means UST has had quite a long history here in Houston. Tell me a little bit about the school, especially for people who really aren't aware of it. Like, how would you just first impression introduction of UST?
Sure. Well, the University of St. Thomas was founded here in Houston in 1947. And it has continued to live up to its motto. Its motto is Crescamos in Cristo, which is let us grow together in Christ. And since that first class of a few folks, we have now grown to a university status of over 3,500 students with programs ranging from associate's degrees to PhDs. And the university is on a tremendous expansion right now. As we grow our enrollment and the numbers and the audiences that we serve. But really at the heart of all of that is our Catholic identity, our Catholicity, and the Basilian tradition. The Congregation of St. Basil founded the institution and continues to be a thriving part of it. And as Larry mentioned, we have terrific support from throughout the community, and we keep lots of people busy. This university is at the precipice now of, I think, greatness. We have always been a terrific university. Our academics are second to none, and as was mentioned with the athletics, we've moved into a new conference at the NCAA Division III level, and the conference has some of the finest institutions of higher learning in this part of the United States. And they welcomed us with open arms, and we were happy to join the group.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Have you noticed a difference in the student population, like the school spirit maybe around the sports teams there?
Well, our spirit is at the university is a really strong one.
Yeah.
And the athletics are just one dynamic part of that. Our faith life is palpable. We have students that are setting records for our retreat attendance. So it's one of those wonderful times in the life of an organization where things seem to be coming together in a really dramatic way to move it to the next level of impact.
Yes. Now, I know that I hear a lot, especially in the news, about how higher education as a whole is facing a lot of challenges. Can you maybe name what some of those challenges are and how UST is approaching those?
Sure, I'll be happy to. If you think of higher education as an industry, and a lot of people don't do that, but for lack of a better term, let's call it that, there are lots of pressures that now face higher education. And that stems from some dynamic changes in our world today.
Yeah.
There are questions about is post-secondary education worth it? There are policymakers who are questioning whether or not the models of higher education as we have known them are valid. And then at the family level, people just kind of wonder, well, what is it that we really need to do here? Do we need to take out debt? How's that going to impact us? Those sorts of things. Are we really going to get the value out of it? Mm-hmm. So the issues for us are really centered around the value, and we think the values for families. And so the pressures, the challenges of higher education are really brought to us by those questions, but also there's been a tremendous increase in costs for higher education, and families rightfully are saying, what's going on there? So at the University of St. Thomas, we're meeting those challenges head on, and we're fortunate that we have a board of directors, a faculty, a student body, and alumni and friends who have all come together in a process that we're calling the University Renewal or Restructure. And it's taking a hard look at some of those questions, and with always keeping center to all of that our Catholic identity.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the tricky part, is keeping that Catholic identity in the middle of it while you have to meet all these different pressures and demands. How are you guys doing that?
That's correct. Well, it is because what we have said as a community is that we will keep our Catholic identity strong and make it stronger. We feel like that's the best way that we can bring value to our students and to the community, is by making sure that that is front and center, and that we not only preserve it, but we vivify it. We bring it to life in a way that is palpable and is attractive. You know, that's the impressive thing about the University of St. Thomas in some ways, is that even the physical structure of the campus is laid out so that truth is what we pursue, and that pursuit comes with a rich and dynamic dialogue between faith and reason.
What does that look like in the physical layout
Sure.
of the campus when you say that? I mean, so you walk in, and are you talking about like structures or the way it's laid out?
I'm talking about all of that.
Oh, okay.
So our campus was designed by a famous New York architect, Philip Johnson. And he came here and he said, with the guidance of the Basilian Fathers and Archbishop Fiorenza, I think at the time too, to say, well, at one end, let's have the chapel. And if folks haven't been to the Chapel of St. Basil on the campus of the University of St. Thomas, you got to come see it.
It's quite a landmark.
It is. It's such a landmark that we're told that from its Golden Dome, pilots who are seeking to land aircraft actually use that as a marker.
That's awesome.
And at the other end is the library, right? So that represents reason, and it's that interplay all along the mall that forms the rectangle or the quad there. All of the disciplines are represented. So we know that the fullness of truth comes from that rich dialogue where faith informs reason, and reason is a revelation from God in many ways that allows us to move forward into the promise of what is to come.
So it's like the library and all of the disciplines lead us to the chapel.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that.
It does. It's so, we have folks that come to the University of St. Thomas just to take pictures of the chapel, and they do that from all over the world. So if folks are local and they haven't had a chance to do it, we'd invite you out to celebrate Mass with us at 10:30 in the morning on Sundays, and again at 6 o'clock, our students do a terrific liturgy there too as well.
6 o'clock in the evening on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay, so you can get to your local church and get to the Mass in the evenings.
Absolutely.
If you want to see this wonderful chapel of St. Basil there at the University of St. Thomas. Now, so not only does the building, the layout of the campus further the Catholic mission of the school, but also you've got programs that are doing this as well. How do those further the Catholic mission of the school?
Right. Well, that's something that is ongoing and pretty exciting too. Our Center for Thomistic Studies is one of the finest in the world that puts the St. Thomas Aquinas right at the center of all it does. In fact, we offer a PhD in Thomistic Studies, and it is regarded as probably the best in the United States and one of the best in the world.
Well, it really makes sense at a university called University of St. Thomas. So I'm glad that you have that there.
Sure, we think he has a little bit to do with that, and it's an important part of that. We also have the Center for Faith and Culture, which has a terrific reputation of doing just that, bringing culture and faith together in harmonious dialogue. We have launched this year 2 new initiatives that are pretty exciting and taking off. One of them is called the St. Maximilian Kolbe Innovation Network.
Really?
Yeah. And it recognizes that we are in the heart of and one of the chief leaders of a dynamic, innovative, technologically advanced world. And that's one of those things that we know that using St. Maximilian Kolbe as the model, he was one who leveraged that technology to great effect in the early part of the 20th century.
He's the patron saint of radio networks.
And for good cause, because he built the largest media apostolate in the early 20th century in Poland. And because of his use of technology and its integration with something that he himself exhibited as a witness, and that is the dignity of the human person. I think most people are familiar with his sacrifice at Auschwitz to save another. That is understanding the good of the human person is worth dying for. And so our goal with the St. Maximilian Kolbe Innovation Network is to combine those two thoughts, the dignity of the human person and the good of an authentic human society, come together with science and technology in a way that make those advances relevant for that genuine purpose.
That is something that's really, really needed right now, because all of us that use social media, especially Facebook and Google and all of them, we feel like we have become commodities to be bought and sold on the internet. And my attention span is pulled in a million different ways by ads, and Facebook is just using my data to sell to advertisers and taking away the dignity of people on the internet. So it sounds like this is an excellent project that I know you're just starting it right now, so you might, I don't know what you can have to show for it yet, but bringing together human dignity while also affirming the value of technology and showing how you don't have to go down that route to have good technology. You can still have good technology, good communications, and maintain the human dignity. That's huge. Do you know of other places that are doing that, or is this making St. Thomas unique?
Well, I'm unaware of others that are doing it in quite that way.
That's
right?
amazing.
So that is just one of the many unique qualities of the University of St. Thomas, and that's why it's such a wonderful and special place that we're excited to be on radio with you today to help tell people about that. One of the other recent developments at the University of St. Thomas is the St. John Paul II Institute. And this, again, is another unique quality of the University of St. Thomas in the way we approach that topic. There are other institutes around the world for St. John Paul II and his tremendous work. So the great saint has given us a new way forward, a new evangelization in some ways. He helped accelerate that process. But the way we look at it is what helped form him, and that's particularly the Polish culture, the faith that he inherited from that culture, and how he brought it to life and used it for great effect, great good in helping to liberate folks who were under communist oppression.
So now, you're not saying that you're going to be using Polish culture to form Houston students.
Well, not exactly.
Maybe we are. Okay.
So we actually are teaching Polish as part of this program.
Oh, wow.
And this is a program that is aimed at anyone who is interested in understanding really the great pontiff who helped move the church into the third millennium of the Christian experience.
Wow.
And so all that formed him is something that we think is really helpful in helping us understand where we are going as a people and as a church. And so to do that, we do look at Poland in a special way. And if you understand Polish history, it has helped and in many cases preserved the Christian experience in Europe for centuries. So not to dwell on that, because we just look at that as part of the process.
Sure.
But St. John Paul II and the theology of the body, the way he brought youth together to form World Youth Day, the way he advanced the church in so many ways, but yet held true to it, is another example of how that balance between what comes next in innovation and the truths of the church that are unchanging, that balance is how the University of St. Thomas continues to operate. And so the St. John Paul II Institute has really become an overnight success, if you could say that. Our enrollments are exceeding projections. We offer classes online. We have in-person classes. Folks who are interested in learning about it but maybe don't want a degree, we're open to that.
Yeah.
There are certificates available. So there are any number of ways that people can engage. And then one of the more fun ways is that we have a pipeline into Poland to walk the footsteps, to learn what moved that great saint and the other great saints that were in that area with him, helping to help form the latter part of the 20th century and the beginning of this one. So we take students there for their capstone courses. In fact, the university as a whole in 2021 invites people to join us as we go to Lithuania, where the Divine Mercy had significant impact.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then on to Poland, where we will visit many of the great sites that helped form Pope John Paul II, as well as Maria Faustina Kowalska, Maximilian Kolbe. The list goes on. So it's an exciting time.
And this is open to anyone, whether they're students or not?
It is.
Wow.
So we're taking a trip there. The university does a trip every year for alumni and friends. And this is a particular one that so far has shown great promise. People are signing up for this already, and here we are a couple years out from it.
Okay, so if any of our listeners are interested in that, what's the best way for them to get more information?
The best way is just to contact the University of St. Thomas and to call the switchboard there. And if you Google,
yes, we can get that out there. I bet you I can find it right now. I know the website is stthom.edu because I say it for your spots. So
thank you.
I'll see if I can find that and give that to our
Please
listeners.
do. Thank you.
Check it out on our Facebook page, GRN Online. I'll post a link to that trip once we get that information. But I think our time is running short. We only have a couple minutes left in the show before we have to pass it on to Dr. David Anders. But I know that Houston is growing, and St. Thomas is right there in the heart of Houston in the Montrose area. What is your relationship to the city? Give me like a 60-second kind of like, what are you doing with all this growth?
What are we doing with all the growth? Well, Houston is such a dynamic place and such a place where all of God's people come together. The university has to be in the public square, helping to lead the way our community comes together, and that's what we're doing. We are growing at a pace that will put us on par with the city of Houston, and that is keeping true to our motto, Crescamos in Cristo, and it's keeping true to the ethos that our pontiffs have given us, the popes have given us, to make Catholic higher education special, to keep it grounded in theology and philosophy, and to serve the world beyond the Catholic community. So that's what we're doing.
Wow. Okay. Dr. Richard Ludwig, 9th President of the University of St. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us here on the Catholic Lunch Break on AM 1430.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here.
Glad. You're welcome back anytime, and we're hopefully be doing more things on your campus very soon.
I look forward to it.
Okay. Larry, thank you so much for setting this up.
Well, this is great, and that now you can see why Dr. Ludwig's got me all excited. So I'm a student at the John Paul II Institute, and then also serve on the board of directors, and am devoting more and more time to helping UST and working as part of the team to help them. And
are you going to be going on the Poland trip?
I will be going.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I found the phone number for you if you are interested in joining Larry on that Poland trip. It's 713-522-7911. That's the main switchboard for University of St. Thomas. They can definitely transfer you to the right department. Again, 713-522-7911. And that music means that, yes, our time with the lunch break is done.
What a great show.
Whew, flew by. I knew we were going to have a hard time packing it all in, but we did it. So we talked, about the In Memoriam concert with Dr. Rick Lopez, and the Mass of the Americas is going to be happening this Sunday at 3 p.m. We've got free tickets. If you email me and see if any of those are left, tim@grnonline.com, or you could buy your own at archgh.org. And and we'll be broadcasting it live here on AM 1430, so stay tuned. And we're going to send you now to Dr. David Anders here on AM 1430 with Call to Communion. What's stopping you from becoming Catholic? That is the question that Dr. David Anders asks on every program and gives you great answers. Don't forget, Share-a-thon's coming up in just a couple weeks, right after Thanksgiving, December 3rd, and we need some help with you. We need some help from you for the volunteers and covering lunch for the volunteers. So if you can help with that, again, email us. And you can find everything you need at our website, grnonline.com. We'll talk to you next time. God bless.